It's the same in the US history with the Confederates. Yeah, they could have stopped the war in 1863 after Gettysburg and Vicksburg. It was over. But they kept on going. It was not until the Union forces had completely ravaged the South that only then they stopped.
That's such a good point. A bad point, but a good one.
But it's real. They knew it was over. How many men died for a lost cause? So how many battles were fought? In the region that around Richmond and Petersburg, it was World War I, but it was a battle of attrition. They kept on fighting. Now, I think that from what you said, there is an extreme wing in Ukraine that wants to carry on the war, and I really think that General Syrski, I'm saying this with my nose, okay? It's rumors, feeling. It's not fact-based necessarily because we don't have the facts. I think that Zaluzhny was more prone to accepting a peace deal, I think. And I think the new General Syrski is the one that's going to fight until the end. If Zelensky signs for peace or is thinking about it, something might happen. I think. I don't know. Because a lot of super nationalist people will not let that go. They're not going to accept it. The same way, imagine in 1944, people trying to talk about peace for the Germans. This is not going to happen until it's in their face. So
based on your understanding of history, and those are great examples you just mentioned there, how do you see this playing out? And if Syrski continues on, if Zelensky continues on, if the West continues on, nope, we're just going to keep fighting no matter what the facts say. How does it play out?
Well, some people say there's going to be peace by Christmas, but every time they say this, the war is going to drag on. So I don't think that there's going to be peace right now, and I don't think that it's the mood for peace. Because think about it, the Ukrainians lost some ground, but they haven't lost major strategic cities either. We're talking about massive cities that will make everybody understand that it's over.
Like a Kupiansk or a Kharkiv
or the more symbolic Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. These ones are where the war in Donbass started. It's hyper symbolic. If the Russians take these cities, in a way they seal history. This is where it started, this is where it ended. All right. So for sure the war could end anytime soon, and it's a surprise, and I was wrong. But I think the Ukrainians did not mobilize 500,000 men to sign peace now. It just doesn't make sense. Why would they mobilize all these people if they're just going to sign peace or call a ceasefire? The Russians know they're not going to get trapped too, because they know that if they do a ceasefire, the Ukrainians are still going to rearm and train and go for another round. That's what we forget. That's what a lot of politicians, they don't understand. It's not about just peace. Peace for what? Peace to restart in 10 years? Peace to restart in 5 years? No. Peace, you want peace for good. So I think the Ukrainians will try one more counteroffensive at some time. And only if this fails, then they'll be like, okay, we tried everything.
I think I tend to agree with you. I think they probably will try.
Another historical example, the Battle of the Bulge, the Germans had to try. They had to try that last push, to try to really, can we squeeze that last victory? Didn't work out. It still took a couple months, but it was over after that moment. Now,
that's such a good analogy.
But there's also something. What did I want to say? Yeah, there's maybe some things historians in the future will uncover. Now we don't know, but we have to remember that the summer counteroffensive was largely planned by. I say counteroffensive for the general audience, even though it's an offensive. Right. It was planned by NATO officers, and we know it was organized by British and American officers. They did the war games for it. And there is this big debate within the Ukrainian army as to whether become a Western NATO force or do their own thing. And I think it's General Syrski that is the winner, because Zaluzhny was the one that said, no, we have to become more like a NATO-like force, heavily armored and all this. and the plan completely failed. And a lot of people that trusted the West, militarily speaking, got pushed out. Sirski had his own plan in mind. He wanted to unblock Bakhmut, reconquer the certain cities, and he just didn't have the means to do this. So I think the Ukrainians will continue the war by carrying a war like on their own terms and not anymore like the NATO, like NATO thinks. So in a way, they're taking back their independence and how they want to carry on the battles. Like the Kharkiv offensive in 2022, it was them. They figured it out with relative little means. It was just strategic maneuvering, surprise attack, and the enemy front broke. So I think there's also a rupture in the Ukrainian military as to how they should carry on the war. But it's not. They have lost a lot of trust in NATO, especially in the equipment. They were promised the best equipment in the world, and now they see that the Abrams tanks burn just the same way as their old T-72s.